wondered what therapy is like or what your loved ones talk about when they are with their therapist? Well, now you can be a fly on the wall in a real therapy session, an unnoticed observer. During this episode, you'll hear a real group therapy session with a modern twist. Our group therapy sessions are done as a mock podcast where participants are encouraged to have open dialogue about their mental health and addiction challenges. As an observer of this episode, we hope that you will learn something helpful for those among us whose struggles often go unnoticed. All personally identifiable information has been removed for the privacy of the participants. Thank you for listening.
And here we are, and it's a small group today. We've got Panda, Bob, Skippy, and myself, and the Shark Man. And it's an intimate little group, and that's good because I feel like all three of you, we haven't really gotten the chance to hear much from you with regards to like your stories very much. I mean, maybe a little bit from you, Skippy, but it was like well over a month ago. And I kind of want refreshers, and like I want to hear more about like what's going on and your backstories. So who wants to go first? And then we'll all like ask questions of the person talking, and then we'll all chime in and we'll relate when we relate to something.
Bob said she'd go first.
Awesome, Bob.
All right, well, Bob Ross is going to kick this off.
Happy tree.
So, like, where do I start?
That is the best question. Like, where do you start?
Yeah.
Like, where would you start if you were making a movie about your life? Like, what would be the opening scene to, like, get to know the character?
Wow. Well, I'd probably, like most people would think, you start when you're a child, and that's what I was thinking at first. But like, honestly, I'd start like with what I'm thinking now and my outlook now. And then I would slowly like progress to like my childhood and then like my traumas. And then so people can see, how I view things now, and then like, wow, all these things happen.
It's a good storyboard. All right, let's do it.
Regressing though instead of progressing.
No, it's like a reflection back, and then
regressing.
Yeah, I guess, but it's not like she's regressing. It's just like we're the story is regressing, yeah. But then we know that like. Okay, so where are you at now with your thinking and everything?
Right now, I'm in a really positive place. A really like, I don't know. I want to say like a third person outlook on my life and myself, So like I'm no longer like thinking constantly about myself. It's more like I'm thinking about myself. I don't know how else to describe that, but
can I take a guess at what you're saying? Yeah. I think you're saying you're no longer thinking about how to like medicate yourself, so to speak, but now you're thinking about how to help yourself.
Yeah.
Like instead of how to numb yourself, it's how to like actually you're looking at the real you.
Yeah. And like I read this really great book, The 4 Agreements, and the other day in school, it just like came over me. I was like, I'm gonna write down like all these things that I believe about myself now, and like it's this huge list of things that I've never ever been able to say about myself.
What surprised you the most? Like, what were you like, wow, I can't believe I said that about myself?
I'm beautiful.
You did not know that you were beautiful.
I never ever said those words. I not as a joke, not in anything.
So you were just blind to like the way the world saw you. You saw yourself very negatively.
I did my whole life, and I didn't even allow myself like an inkling of like love. Like people would ask me like, what do you like about yourself? Like, come on, just name one thing. And I would be like, oh my God, one thing. That's so impossible. Like I don't know a single thing that I like about myself. Like my eyes are ugly. Like everything's just not right, And now I'm like,
and that somebody else put that in your head, right? That's not even.
Yeah.
Who put that in your head?
My sister. Kind of. That's where it started. I guess because I was at home where it first started. And then I heard it from school, and then I started picking it apart from what other people said, and I started like finding it in different things, and I started repeating back to
Right.
myself.
Selective listening.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, I think it's fair to say, and hopefully not inappropriate to say, that this is an entire room of good-looking people.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if
Cute.
everybody, is there anybody here who still does not see them, and I'm not going to judge you harshly for it, but is there anybody here who still does not see themselves as attractive when they look in the mirror? And don't be ashamed to say so if that's true.
I think I'm hot as fuck.
Okay.
Hot
cares.
as frick.
I mean, like,
I see you're not jumping to an answer. Is that indicating that you don't?
I don't know. I see myself as it's all subjective, you know.
So how do you see yourself?
I don't like a lot of stuff about myself, and then I like some stuff about myself.
So you're fairly critical of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Well,
I still love myself, and I love stuff about myself, and I dislike stuff about myself.
Okay. I think that's almost like saying no answer, please. It's almost an abstaining. Like I have, like somebody asked me, like, what does your wife write about? My wife's a journalist, and I didn't really want to get into it with them. Not that it's anything wrong with it, but I was just like, oh, she writes about a lot of topics on a wide variety of things. And they're like, oh, okay. It's kind of like the answer you gave me. You're like, I find myself in some ways good and in some ways not so good. Thank you very much.
no comment.
What I read between the lines was that you're fairly critical, and I think that's fair assessment because I can read your facial expressions and your body language as well. And if I'm incorrect, I apologize. And if I am correct, I'm not trying to call you out here. It's something to be aware of because you are a very handsome fella. I can say that with good confidence. And I think one lesson to learn from what Bob is saying is how powerful it is to realize that. You know, it is very good to be able to look in the mirror and see yourself not with a critical lens, but with a loving lens. Like, and if you're doing it sometimes, great. Like, do it more, you know? Do it more and do less of the other thing. Because it's so easy to mutate yourself in the mirror. And anyone can do it. Like, you can literally Picasso up your own face with your mind.
Yeah.
You know? And it's such a shame because you are not allowing yourself love. It's love that you have to give that you're not giving to yourself. And like, we all need love so badly. Not just everyone in this room, but everyone on this planet needs love so badly to varying degrees, you know? Some people are pretty content with the amount of love they get, but they can still use some more.
Yeah.
You know, every song is about love, right?
Yeah.
Or lack of love. But that's like the obsession of humanity is love. So we all need love. We're all like, even the Beatles saying all you need is love. That's like, they thought that was all you need.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like, you would die without air, you know? Like, you don't only need
Food,
love. Like,
water.
yeah. Like, literally, like, if you could have a lot of love, but if you got no food and water, you need some more stuff than love. But people are obsessed with love. So don't think it's just you guys. It's humanity. And just remember that, like, we all want love from everybody else, and we're all entitled to it. I believe that. However, loving yourself is where it starts. Like, and we've talked a little bit about it in this group in the past about how to love yourself if you don't, and how to transform towards that feeling, and we can go over it again. But one thing that's super easy is catching yourself being critical of yourself. Like, it's super easy because it's a habit. It's a habit you can form. I did it. I formed that habit, and then you eventually don't need it because you conquer it. But it is time consuming, and you have to catch yourself when you think negatively about yourself.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean, I can't stress this enough, Panda. Like, you're kind of zoning out, but I really want you to listen to this because, like, when you look in the mirror or even walk down the street and you're like, I can't even tell you how many times I used to tell myself, like, a record was playing in my head that I'm stupid. Like,
Yeah.
and I would just like let that happen until one day I was like, no, oh, I caught myself doing it again. Got you. Sneaky thought. Like, get out of my head, you know, like
Not today.
you have to attack the criticism. You've all been criticized, and you've been criticized by people you look up to and you love and you trust, and you think they know you better than anyone, so they must be right. It's not true. A lot of the world feeds you lies, not always intentionally, sometimes emotionally. Sometimes you're lied to because people have lied to themselves and they have skewed reality to such a point. Like, I was thinking about this yesterday, and I will stop my rant in a second, but I just want to say this. I was thinking about, how does someone see the world clearly? How do you have a clear mind when you see the world in an obstructed way? Like, how can you see reality clearly if your own version of reality is skewed? And if you don't know that your version of reality is skewed, then reality itself is completely different. Like, the world is like a painting. Like, when you go to an art museum and you see these snobs staring at a painting that is like abstract, right? And they're like, I see this. I think the artist is seeing that. Well, it's the same painting. So how are these people seeing different things? Two answers. One, they're full of it, and they're not. Or maybe they are. But if they are, let's look at that. How can two people see the same painting differently? It's because their mind is wired differently. It's because their perception of reality is different. Yeah. So something that's beautiful to one person could be ugly to another person, right? Like, if you're a beautiful person, like all of you are in this room, and you look in the mirror and you secretly tell yourself that you're an ugly person, you have lost reality, touch with reality of what objective beauty is. Your new subjective beauty is actually going to be ugly, because you're looking at someone beautiful and telling that person that they're ugly. Therefore, you're going to look at something ugly and think that it's beautiful, like abuse.
Wow.
So just think about that for a second. Like, if you are looking at something beautiful, like you, like your soul, like your body, like your face, like your mind, and you're criticizing that, which is the most beautiful thing in the world, then you're going to look at something that is hideous and ugly and think, that's beautiful, I want some of that.
Yeah.
And that's something you got to be aware of. And the only way to do it is little notches, little changes in the way you think. And over time, you can transform your mind. You can transform your perception of reality. So if life seems bleak and horrible, yeah, maybe it is in your version of reality. But just know that there's an entirely other version that you can tap into, in which the painting looks completely different. You know? Yeah. That's my rant for today. What do you guys think?
Well, like, I was there a few months ago. I was like trapped in that. Like, every time I looked, like, I would avoid mirrors, and every time I would catch myself in a mirror, I'd have to, when I was washing my hands, I would get really sad, and I would, like, that record, like you said, would start playing in my head. Be like, oh my God, you're disgusting. Like just utterly disgusting, and like, you don't deserve love, you know, you're never gonna get that. And you just definitely didn't even think about like loving myself. And my life at home, you know, I was hurting a lot, and I created a lot of destruction, and like with my family and everything, and I made like life hell there. And I was like, you know, well, my life's hell, and like everything's hell, and so like I'm therefore just not worthy of like anything, and this is my life, and it's not going to change, and that's never going to change. And like the past few days, I've like really like even like a week ago or whatever, 5 days ago, honestly, I was looking in the mirror, and I've like actually started, you know, eating my meals and like eating a fair amount. And my clothes were falling off me when I first got here, and now I fit them. And I was really uncomfortable with it for the first few days, but this morning I actually woke up and I looked in the mirror and I was like, wow, okay. You know, like, this is pretty cool. And like, my clothes fit pretty great right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you how happy that makes me to hear.
Yeah.
And it's about, when it comes to eating, especially, I know like so much about eating disorders because, you know, I have one and I've been fighting with it forever. Yeah. But, and now conquering it. I can say that with confidence.
Woo! Yeah, go you.
But it's like, when it comes to eating disorders, it's totally about nutrition, not about food. It's just totally about, like, I don't know if anyone said this to you, but it's, don't think about food as food. Don't think about food as fat. Don't think about food as any of that stuff. Just think about it strictly in terms of nutrition. Like, am I nourishing myself?
Helping my body.
Like, yeah. Am I giving myself the essential vitamins and nutrients that I need to survive and to be healthy and to thrive? That's how you look at food. That's the only healthy way to look at food, in my opinion. And then occasionally, you want to have something that's exciting to you. Yeah, treat yourself because you deserve it, right? But don't use food as medicine, and don't turn food into something evil. Food is literally nourishment. That is why we eat. We eat to fuel our bodies and to provide our bodies with certain vitamins and minerals that we need. And like, as soon as we pervert food and bastardize it into something else that it isn't, and turn it into an emotional thing, or turn it into something to do with the way you look, or the way or tell yourself that you're eating wrong, you're now twisting food into something it was never meant to be.
Wow.
Like, it's literally just you absorbing what you need to shine in this world, really, to survive, but to shine, like, for your skin to look radiant, for you to feel good, for your body to have energy. Like, that's what food is. Food is energy, and food is nutrients. Yeah. And like, when you look at it like that, you can really enjoy it. You can be like, wow, not only am I nourishing myself, but it's also delicious. Like, you know?
Yeah,
like,
it's really good.
And you don't have to feel guilty about it. And you shouldn't, because you're actually doing what you were meant to do as a creature of this world. Like, every creature has to do that. Anyway, I'm very ranty tonight, it turns out. And I really want to hear more from you guys. I don't know why I'm like this right now. I'm all fired up. I'll tell you guys something funny. I got kicked out of jury duty yesterday. And I'm like on like a real high from it. Like, I was so funny in the courtroom, and they kicked me off the jury. And everyone's like, "That's awesome, you got out of jury duty." And I'm like, "But I wanted to be on the panel because I've never gotten to be part of a trial before, but I wanted to do it on my terms." And they were like, "No." I'll just tell you one thing. The woman there's this woman in a trial. I didn't even know about this, but sits at a computer, and she's the go-between for the attorneys and the judge. And she had a giant, Kirkland Costco brand, a giant thing of Kirkland almonds on her desk. So I raised my hand. They were like, juror number 10. I'm like, yes, I'm wondering about the almond policy here in the courtroom. They're like, pardon me, what? I said, yes, the almond policy, because I noticed that the woman, I don't know her official title over there, has a very large amount of almonds on her desk, and I'm wondering if the trial drags on, are those communal almonds, or who has access to those almonds? People were cracking up. Like, you know how the guy who was on trial for criminal charges, who might get thrown in jail for life, was cracking up. Like, he was so serious, and then he even was cracking up. And the woman's like, well, no one's ever asked that question before. She's like, we share them with this court staff. I said, would a juror be considered court staff during a trial? She's like, I don't know. I think we'd have to discuss that with the judge during off hours. I'm like, thank you. No further questions at this time. They kicked me out. You're like, juror 10, you
Did
can
you get
leave.
your almonds?
No. You're like, juror 10, you're excused. You can go. I'm like, but I don't want to. They're like, you
What
have
about
to
the
leave.
almonds?
My friend was like, on the phone with me last night. He's like, you know what a maniac you are? That you're like probably the only person who not only asked the stupidest questions in the courtroom, that they're like, I can't believe this guy's asking about almonds, but then you actually didn't want to leave when they told you could go. They're like, nobody wants to do jury duty. Like, you're the only one who tried to fight to stay. They're like, oh my God, this guy's so... This is my friend saying this lovingly. He's like, this guy's so annoying, and he doesn't want to leave. Like, I'm so proud of it. I'm so proud of it.
Good
Might be
story.
a good joke on like a stand-up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think I should develop it?
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
I came up with one other joke, and then I'll get back on topic. But
Alright.
what do you guys think of this? You know how like segregation, there used to be like
Bad way to start.
you know, there used to be like black people had their own water fountains and white people had their own water fountains, and then they like
Ugh.
that's we always hear about that, like segregation. Everyone had their own water fountains,
Yeah.
and then we got past it, and then everyone shared one water fountain. You know who suffered the most? The water fountain companies. They're
For real.
Yeah, for real.
their
no.
sales went in half after that. But I think that's why there's always, like, when you go to a water fountain, there's always a water fountain that's like 2 inches shorter connected to that water fountain.
Yeah.
Like, why do you need a slightly shorter water fountain? It's just because the water fountain companies were like, we're not letting this segregation thing bankrupt us. We're selling double water fountains from now on. It's good. It's getting laughs. All right. I like it. All right. I also came up with something about saltwater taffy and fudge, but that's another time, another story. Let's get back to you guys. All right, fine, I'll tell you.
Get some water
Very
really
quickly.
Okay.
Okay, hurry back.
Yes.
I'll tell you very quickly.
All right.
You ever notice how whenever you see fudge being sold anywhere, it's always sold in the most random places in a museum gift shop, or
Yeah.
like in a roadside gas station.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there's always somebody with the fudge explaining how they make fudge. Like they're always, why does a fudge always come with a tutorial? They're like, the fudge goes through a very difficult process. And it's like, why? We don't need to know that much about fudge. And it's always them and the taffy people, like the saltwater taffy people. They just want you to know how hard they work at making taffy. It's like nobody even cares about fudge or taffy. Like the only reason we ever buy it is because we feel bad because you told us how hard it was to make.
You know, once I tried to make taffy with my dad, yeah, it's really hard.
It's like it's so hard, and then at the end of it, you're like, I guess this is kind of good. It's getting stuck in my teeth. It's a little bit too
not
rich.
worth it.
I don't really get it. It's like not. It's not a correct food.
Exactly.
It's like
It's not.
It's not a correct. It's like it's nutritionally garbage. It tastes kind of weird. It's like overwhelming. It's getting
like
stuck in my
watery.
teeth. I'm like, I'm not happy about this. And yet, you have these people pushing fudge and taffy in every weird place in America. And they're pretentious about it. Like these saltwater taffy people, they think that they're like in the arts. It's
Nerve.
like it's ridiculous. I really think they think they're right up there with like classical composers. They're like, do you see the movement of the taffy?
The whole
It's like
story too.
yeah.
It's like we started off at this little house making taffy.
Right.
Like,
We don't need to know the family history of your crappy candy business. Like, it's like all right, that's it for my new stand-up stuff. But all right, so I'm really happy going back to you. We had a commercial break there, a comedic break. I'm happy that you're feeling better. I'm happy that you're feeling positive now. But you said then we would cut back to the childhood you.
Oh yeah. Okay, so basically, I was I really like I had this like brightness when I was a kid, I guess. Super, energetic and like happy, and like I had a lot of anxiety, and I guess that's like my root problem, like not the depression, and that's like a hard time because the depression in my head wants me to think that I was always a piece of shit. shoot.
Right.
And so basically, really happy kid. And then like around when I was 6, my sister was 12, you know, she developed an eating disorder and it disordered the family. And she became very, very abusive and pushed a lot of her what she was going through onto me at a very, very young age.
Give me an example.
I guess an example of like what she tried to push on me, or like, I guess how she viewed herself, you know, her eating habits. Like she would comment a lot on my figure, you know, my weight, and I was a average sized kid, you know, like it was okay. And then like slowly as I started going through puberty, I was like, well, you know, like my 6-year older sister is, you know, like 4 sizes smaller than me. And like it's like, wow, like yikes. And everyone at school was like, wow, your sister's super pretty. And like my sister, it's just like hard to say what she would say, you know, and I don't really remember. I don't know about that.
Because it's too hurtful.
Yeah, it's like it probably wouldn't sound as bad as it did to like a 6-year-old me.
I think it would be good for you to do it.
Wow. Well, yeah, I got a lot of, you know, can I get there maybe? Like, can I work myself up? Because now it feels like a lot of pressure on that.
It is a lot of pressure. And I'll tell you why. Because like when something is like so scary to go near, like my feeling is go right to that thing. Because that's the thing that like, okay, you ever get knots in your back?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have you guys ever got knots in your back? Yes?
Like just
no?
leave
Yes?
them alone till they go away.
Okay. Or like another way is you're getting a massage, right?
You gotta just rub it out.
You gotta go right to the
so
knot.
Painful the day after.
You get rid of that knot, then you get rid of the pain, right?
Yeah, true.
Like all the rest of the massage might feel good, but until you actually get in and need that knot, you are not undoing the damage.
That's true.
And I kind of see emotional things the same way. Like, here's something that's really painful for you to talk about. It's really raw, and it's like legit. Everyone here is going to hear it, and no matter how bad and scary it looks to you, we're all going to be like, yeah, I've had stuff like that said to me, and we're not going to be downplaying it. That's just going to be the natural reaction that we have. But because it's so deeply cutting and personal to you, and some part of it felt true to you, and you haven't been able to completely dispel that at this point, it's still scary for you, which I acknowledge. So that's why I think it's good to go there.
I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah, you're ugly. You know, mom and dad don't love you, and they're not gonna love you. Hey, you see, I would be, you know, like getting dressed or whatever, and she would, you know, like tug at my clothes, like, oh, you see how this doesn't fit you here? Like this is too big here, you know, like, wow, you're really gaining a lot of weight, you know. Or I would be eating, you know, like, you should slow down with that. That's happening. You're getting a little carried away. Like, yeah, I don't know, like, I guess that just sort of carried a lot into, like, everything. You know, she would push me over a lot, or like kick me or stuff, and she would be like, you're too slow, you can't get up, you know, maybe you should stop, you know, like eating so much. And like then I just like I would just like I would get back up, you know, and I would like smile, and like I would, you know, go like do my own thing. But like even though I didn't like know it, it would be playing in my head, you know, like this isn't fitting you right, you know, like this isn't, you're ugly. This isn't like, that's you, basically. Everything she said to me, I repeated back to myself from a very young age that was me. And I hated mirrors. I hated the way I looked. I used to always, you know, search for that validation from others, and that really that happiness in me started to become more for others, you know. It started to be more to please others. Like I would use that to make others happy, or, you know, make my parents happy, because my sister was turmoil. And so I had to constantly, regardless of what was going on, how awful she was, all of these things, I would have to get back up and smile and laugh and, you know, be there for my parents at a very young age, because I made the difference to them. And I guess that mattered at the time. But it also, like, pushed me further away, like, because I pretended like it was fine. I would wait outside during the family's therapy sessions. And, you know, I would see my dad drag my sister to the shower, you know, screaming and crying, fully clothed, and like running cold water on my sister, hysterical, and just like hiding under the table with my dog. And there was a lot of that, you know. I was lucky to have a dog after like turning 7. And one thing, it's kind of a side note, like when the first day we got him, he was already like 2 years old. It was a rescue. He was in the house, and my dad had saw him at like PetSmart, and he was like, I think you guys are gonna like this dog. Like, I think you guys are really gonna like this dog. He came to the house, and the first thing he did, like when he came up to me, is like he smiled. And I don't know if you've ever seen a dog smile, but that's the funniest thing to me. Like, oh my God, yeah, like what a great dog. And so he helped a lot, and I started, I was a swimmer, and I loved the water. I had a hearing problem because of all the swimming, and I had like a hole in my eardrum. I couldn't hear as well as all the other kids in my class, so I didn't learn how to like count or like stuff like I didn't learn how to do math very well, or add money, stuff like that, you know, because like I wouldn't ask questions, but I wouldn't be able to hear. And so
I think that's true of your family too. Like you kind of shut yourself out.
Yeah, for sure.
Like what you said about when you were hiding under the table, or you weren't going into the family therapy, it's like you made yourself an island because it was so painful.
Yeah.
And that you just thought, let me remove myself from it. But at the same time, you also weren't getting the help you needed.
For sure.
And I think it transferred over, like when you're talking about this, and like, I'm not a therapist, but I think that's just a basic assumption to make. And
yeah,
I'm so freaking proud of you for going there, because I know how scary that was for you, and I heard it. We all heard it in your voice.
Definitely.
And I want to open it up to Skippy and Panda for their reactions right now, because I'm sure like this must have touched on some stuff for both of you, and to hear your feedback a little bit. So.
The Meadow Glade is a rehabilitation center specializing in mental health and eating disorders. Located in Moore Park, California, the Meadow Glade fosters an environment of wholesome healing, supporting the transition back to a self-sufficient, harmonious lifestyle. Offering both outpatient and residential treatment, the Meadow Glade works with clients from all over the country, offering optional housing on a private 24-acre estate of rolling hills, secret gardens, avocado groves, and sprawling pastures with horses on site. You or your loved one will enjoy an individualized treatment program with individual and group therapy, along with creative methods like equine and art therapy. Most major insurance plans are accepted, and our program specialists can help you every step of the way. Give us a call today at 888-619-0676 to learn more.
Well, like, growing up, I was always the outsider. I was always the person who got picked last for dodgeball, who got picked last to play on the baseball team. I was always the person who no one wanted to sit next to at lunch. I was like, I considered myself, like, growing up, I was always kind of really flamboyant. Like, it was really bad. But, like, that's who I was. I was carefree, even though nobody wanted to be my friend. I didn't really care because I loved myself.
Let's not even put a judgment on it then, because you said it was really bad. Let's say it was really awesome.
It was awesome
because you were you, and I think you're awesome.
Well, once like middle school hit and like I started actually developing, and like I could comprehend what they were saying about me. Those feelings really stuck to me. Yeah. And then it kind of like from like 7th grade to maybe sophomore year, I'd miss like 3 out of the 5 days of school because like I physically could not get myself out of bed to go to school. I'm like, what are they going to say today? Who's going to talk behind my back? Who is not going to be there for me? But like this whole time, no one was really talking about me. No one's opinion really mattered to me anymore. I was the person bringing it all down on myself. I was bullied a little bit growing up, but in general, I was the bully to myself. And that's what I've really noticed. Like, I get myself in these deep, dark pits of despair, of self-loathing, and just like, oh, poor me, oh, I did this wrong, oh, I'm awful, yada, 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 etc. It's really strange how fast I can get myself to go down that far.
I relate to that.
Like someone could say something like super nice and super positive, like actually no, I'm gonna go a different direction. I could be talking this, we had this group yesterday expressing anger through art therapy, and I drew a picture, and it like I really didn't realize it, but like I've been like played a lot by a lot of people. I'm the person to give 110%, give my whole life, my whole everything that I have to this person. But it's hard to be in a relationship where it only goes one way. It's hard to be the person who's always trying and have someone who never tries. Like, I was talking to this person for like I want to say like 6 to 7 months, and like we were talking, and like we were like, I did anything for this person. I would do anything for them. Like, I got myself in trouble by picking him up from a party like at 7 o'clock in the morning. No, not 7 o'clock. Like 3 o'clock in the morning to take him home. And I got in trouble because I went out when I wasn't supposed to. I supplied him with the drugs he needed. I was always the person to give him rides, even though he never gave me gas money. Like, he didn't even like say thank you or anything. He was like, I'll call you later. And I'm like, okay. And I thought that was love. I thought just being with that person was love. But like,
do you ever ask yourself why? Why did you think that was love?
Because that's what I've always been used to. Just a one-way relationship where I was always the person trying.
And that comes from what, your parents?
It's strange because my parents have always been so supportive, always been there for me. I've had the best family growing up, but it's myself. I tell myself this, like, this is love to me. Like,
But wait a minute. You said that was always love to you. So, like, things don't just transpire. They mirror, you know? So somebody taught you that was love. So that's why I'm suggesting your parents, because that's a quick place to go to. But where do you think that definition of love was taught to you from?
That's actually a good question. I have no idea. 'Cause, like, that's how I pictured love. Like, I really don't know.
Do you think, like, maybe movies, like society, like, to give your all to somebody? I don't know.
That's what I'm really confused about. Because, like, I've always seen people in relationships where, like, they seem like they love each other unconditionally.
Well, what does your parents' marriage look like? Like, are they a very happily married couple?
Yeah.
So, like, what would you say is the dynamic between them? Who's, okay, just break it down for me. Like, what does this relationship look like?
Well, my mom and dad have been together for almost, I think it's 30 years now. They've been together for almost 30, no, not 30 years. Like 26.
Okay, that's
So,
not that far off.
Yeah. They've been together for like 26 years.
Uh-huh.
And, like, they've had their ups and downs, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they always seem to figure it out and work it out. Because my mom said she knows once the fighting stops, that's when they stop trying.
So they do fight a lot. I've heard that before, by the way. That's like a common thing to say. Like, and I understand the logic behind it. Like, couples who fight are fighting for something. Couples who don't fight have nothing to fight for.
Yeah.
It is healthy for a couple to fight. The question is, are they fighting healthy?
Yes.
And, like, I don't know. And you probably don't know either, because you've never been in a marriage, right?
No.
Like, so you trust them that they're fighting healthy, but you're just going off the basis that they're like, this is how you healthy fight. And you're like, okay, mom and dad, if you say so. Like, I don't know that they do fight healthy. And also, here's the other thing I just want to point out to you. And this is kind of mind blowing. They're not supposed to fight in front of you. You know that? Like, you're not supposed to know about that. You're not supposed to know that it's healthy for a couple to fight like that. You're supposed to be blinded from that until you're like 20 at least. And then you'd be like, by the way, kid, we fought a lot, like, in secret behind the scenes when you were a kid, and it's healthy to fight in a relationship because it means that you're fighting for something. And you're like, oh, cool, I'm glad I never had to see that, because that might have affected my understanding of a healthy relationship. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
these are, like, things that, like, the difference between healthy parents and unhealthy parents. And, like, I understand that we all have a very deep need to defend our parents. And even when we're like, yeah, they did some messed up stuff, you're also like, but they also literally bought me these clothes on my body and fed me and put me in school and put me in a house and took me on trips, and, like, they're like the most amazing people in the world who've done everything for me and always will and care about me more than anyone. Got it. Understood. However, there are literally many parents out there that do not fight in front of their kids, that shelter them from that. And that's a way better way to grow up. And it's not impossible, and it's not even difficult. It's the way it can be done. I mean, there are sometimes slip-ups, but there's a huge difference between living in a house with a lot of fighting and then the parents are like, don't worry, we got this, we love each other, we just happen to fight a lot. And also, or living in a stable, calm environment where you're looking at a relationship that seems really happy and healthy and well-adjusted. And, like, there's a good power dynamic between the parents where there's a good give and take and a good respect for each other. And rather than, like, my way is right, no, my way is right. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
When parents act as a team, as a unit, they function as one. Like, we are both on the same page. We both totally devoted and love each other. And yeah, there's going to be some bumps along the road, and we're going to fight about them. But we're going to pull that stuff aside and not, like, expose a kid who's literally forming their opinion of what love is to that. that's not malicious parenting. It's just irresponsible parenting. And you do have to kind of allow yourself the freedom to understand that and not judge them for it. Because I understand the need to not want to judge. And maybe some therapists will be like, judge, and maybe they're right. I'm not a therapist. I'm just a human who's been around a lot of this. And like, I'm just telling you, like, it is okay to understand where they were wrong and where they failed to do right by you, and also be like, you know what? They didn't have the rule book. They went through their own stuff with their parents. They're just trying to survive like we are. And they were doing the best they could do. And the best they could do happened to be poorly informed for what a parent should be. You know? And you don't have to hate them for it. You don't have to judge them harshly for it. You don't have to, they're like, I should have had more, because you get what you get in this life. It's not like you should have had more. It's not like any of you should have had more, because you can't should have, because then you could should have your way to anything. I should have this, I should have that, I should, like, okay, it sucks, but then you deal with it. Like, that is rehab. Like, it's like you have to learn what sucks in your life. Like, you have to be able to honestly look back and be like, damn, I've been covering for them on that one. That did suck, though. Like, literally, that sucked, and I shouldn't have had to deal with that. And, okay, they couldn't have done better, or they could have, but they didn't, whatever. But that's what I got. And now I know that sucked. You know? And now that I know that I experienced something that sucked, that's when you step back and ask yourself this question. How did that sucky thing affect the way I think or feel about myself? You know? Because that's what we're trying to figure out here. We're not trying to like point a finger, blame your parents, and we're not trying to like you know, find the, it's not like the court case where we're trying to lock someone up or something. We're literally trying to find out what went wrong that affected your thinking, that led your thinking to go negative on you. You know? And like, I think we kind of found like a big piece of it with like the fighting. Like your definition of love is so complicated, man. It's so complicated because your parents sound like they truly do love each other and they're really fighting a good fight. They're just maybe not doing it in a way that it's like you're absorbing it very well, you know?
Probably.
I think that's like really significant because we do learn definitions of love that are often really wrong. Like I told you, there's a different way to see the painting where beautiful is ugly. Mm-hmm. Or ugly is beautiful. Like sometimes like love is not, in my opinion, what Hollywood shows it as either. That's usually lust or just silly fantasy.
Exactly.
My definition of love is really about trust. It's about a complete trust for the other person. And that's like, and when you have that, when the two people like really trust each other, like truly trust each other, then there's a certain calm that comes over that relationship. Because you know deep in your heart that other person's got your back. And that's why we're so affected by cheating. Like when someone cheats on you, you feel so betrayed. Not so much because that other person had sex with some other person or hooked up or kissed or whatever, right? You're actually hurt by the breaking of trust. Like trust breaks hearts. Breaking trust breaks hearts. Yeah. So the opposite of that is building trust heals hearts. You know? So like when a couple truly trust each other, then you have really healthy love, in my opinion. Like they don't have to like, you know, do some crazy wild romantic gesture all the time or whatever. They don't have to be like lusting over each other. They just have to trust. It's not about lust. It's about if I was a motivational speaker, I'd be like, I kind of imagine myself as like a preacher right now. It's not about lust. It's about trust. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen.
And then something else, and then I'd rhyme it with dust. It's about dust. It's about. But it's so true. So when you try to find like a good definition of something, that kind of helps you, because like you experienced this guy was breaking your trust. Like he literally kept breaking your trust. Like you would trust him to give you back emotionally, and he would not. You know, and you would go to school and you would trust that your friends were going to be there for you and that they weren't going to be making fun of you, and they broke your trust. Like your sister broke your trust. Like you trusted she was there for you and that she loved you and she was a good sister and she wanted the best for you, and she kept breaking your trust. That's like heartbreaking. I mean, it's like happiness. Like I always think happiness is a stupid thing to like try and strive to be, because it's so abstract. There is no such thing as happiness. There is such a thing as appreciation, which produces a happy feeling, right? Like if you appreciate anything, it's going to make you quote unquote happy, but the action is appreciation. The result is happiness. Like you can't try and make a result in action, you know? So the action is trust, and like the reaction should be trust. So if you're trusting someone but they're not trusting you, one of these two people is not equipped to be in this relationship, and it's the one who's not able to give trust. Because the love is going to come from the trust. The trust is the action, the love is like the result. You know?
You're on a roll.
Yeah. It's not about love. It's about dove. I don't know. So you've been really quiet, Skippy, and we're like, damn it, we are so out of time. But how are you doing? I just want to do a quick check-in with you, because next week you're going to be the star of this show. We've been there before with you, where it's like, Skippy, you did not talk because you didn't barely say anything today.
Tomorrow, next week is my last media.
So we're going to split it up then. We're going to do like a half a goodbye with you, half the session goodbye, and half the session check-in, because I really want to know. But where are you at? Like,
cool.
Just for 2 minutes, where are you at?
I'm okay. I'm pretty tired.
I still hear you. Talk into it. Or maybe your headphones came out.
I can't.
Yeah, your headphones came out, I think. Let's see. Is that better?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm okay. I'm pretty tired.
Whoa. Half of your hair is like...
The other half.
Is that why you were pretty quiet today? Is just because you're tired?
Yeah, I'm pretty tired.
Okay. Did anything come up today that like really affected you and you want to talk about it before we shut down?
Nothing I really want to talk about. I feel like everything's... feel like I'm good. Yeah.
So there are things, but you don't want to talk about them.
Sure, it's fine.
All right. Well, just remember what I said about the knot in the back. Like, those are the things maybe that you should work towards next week, maybe talking about, because if they're there and you're afraid to touch them, you know, that's the one you got to go for. That's where the answers lie. You know. Just remember, like you know, I had a saying. I had a friend who passed away, sadly, but he always had a saying that stuck with me, and I don't know if he came up with it or if he just liked to say it, but he always said, the sharpest knife in the drawer is the one you never use. And I think it's true for feelings and emotions too. It's like the sharpest thing is the one you're not touching. It's the one you're not going near. And as long as you let it be that sharp knife in you, it's gonna stick you, you know? And it's probably scary. It's a sharp knife. I get it. You don't want to go near it. But that's where you're gonna open doors in your mind. That's where you're gonna open doors in your soul. Like, you're gonna be able to overcome the things that you thought were your limitations. Because, by the way, our limitations that we have decided, like you said it really well before, that you used to think like, I can never get past this. That I can never get past, that I can never that limitation, that I can never, is a lie. And you should all know that. That is a lie that we tell ourselves, that we honestly believe until we dispel it. And we're like, oh,
Yeah.
I guess I could. Like, I used to say I could never lose this weight. 42 pounds down in the last
Woo.
few months. Like,
Woo.
it's like,
Fist bump.
I can. And there's no I can never. I can never is just you telling yourself a lie because it's more comfortable than doing the work to just say you can't get past it. And I know that from personal experience, and I'm going to be late, so I have to go. But I just want you
Signing
guys,
off.
I want to just leave you this with this really powerful thing, because it truly is like a really powerful thing. And I feel like I can't stress it enough. Like, stop lying to yourselves. Like, seriously, you deserve better. Like, and Skippy, I'm talking to you right now because I can see it in your face that that some of this is resonating, and I just want you to know that, like, you can get past these things. The things that you think are holding you back, I promise you, you can defeat the hell out of these things. Like, you can get past them. You guys are so amazing. All of you are.
Thank you.
Yeah, we pretty much.
And like,
we
and you are,
pretty.
and I'm not saying that lightly. I really mean it.
Yeah, we're pretty milk.
You guys have some amazing abilities within you.
Frick yeah.
And I need you to believe it as much as I believe it, because as soon as you do, you're going to like develop X-Men powers like you can't believe. Like, you're going to realize that you could shoot lasers out of your eyes, like, and you had it in you all along, you know? I'm serious. So let's talk about it next week, all right?
Okay, Skippy.
All right, thank you. All right.
Signing off.
Good night, everybody.
Beep, beep.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Unnoticed Observer, your window into group therapy. Each episode covers a new theme to open the conversation about mental health and offer insight and guidance. New episodes are released every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Join us on your favorite podcast listening app, and make sure to subscribe and follow us on Facebook at Unnoticed Observer Podcast for more. And remember, if you or someone you love is struggling with any mood, behavioral, or personality-related matters, there is help.